Oh man. Wow, wow, wow. So again, a warm welcome to everybody and thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Foley. I'm a representative of Jhamtse International along with Selena, who's also a member of our team at Jhamtse International, which is a nonprofit started by Lobsang back in 2005. Selena and I are serving as your co-host today. We're also managing the Zoom, so we're going to keep our eye on the chat and things as we move forward. But Selena and I will serve as the co-hosts, and we're really going to focus most of the conversation on hearing from Lobsang Phuntsok, who was the founder of the Jhamtse Gatsal Children's Community. And at the community, Lobsang is referred to as Genla. And the word Genla means spiritual friend. And so as I talk over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to use the word Genla because he certainly is a spiritual friend of mine and a mentor as for many of us. And then it's also a great pleasure to have, and Andrew will snare at this when I say this, the Emmy Award-winning filmmakers of Tashi and the Monk, Andrew Hinton and Johnny Burke. It's been a while, I think, since we've all been on a call together. This feels so extraordinarily special. So thank you so much. And I just want to sort of set the stage and anchor us a little bit. So please indulge me where while I share a couple of visuals. And I want to start here. And what I want to do before I actually offer any words to this visual for me, which is an actual photograph taken last summer at the Jhamtse Gatsal Children's Community of two little ones in their school uniforms, their Jhamtse Gatsal sweaters. And for me, this visual image says a lot. And for those of you who know me, you know that when it comes to things like this, I get really excited, and I'm really excited about this gathering and the campaign. And personally, I could use a moment to really settle into what this conversation is all about. So if you want to join me, you can, but if you would indulge me, I just would like to take three slow breaths to really settle into what the meaning of this gathering and this journey is all about. So I'm just going to take three slow breaths. Please join me if you'd like. Thank you. I'm going to layer in some words now. The first word I want to bring into this is the word Jhamtse. And Selena, I just want to make sure this is coming through okay, yeah? So this is the word that we feel is important to root ourselves in today for not only this conversation, but what has been the foundation of a 24-year journey. And the meaning of the word Jhamtse, which in English means love and compassion. Earlier this year, I asked Lobsang if he could take some time and explain to me what Jhamse really means, because I know it's a very powerful word, very nuanced. And he said, Mark, we need about 3 days to do that. And so in my next visit, I hope to have those 3 days. But since I only have 3 minutes for these introductory remarks, I just want to leave us rooted in this sense of love and compassion. Mm-hmm. I also want to take us to sort of the present moment and this call to action, because one of the things Lobsang has shared many times over the years is that Jhamse is a verb. So when you think of love and compassion, it's really love and compassion in action. And I feel these words by His Holiness, which many of us have probably seen before, is indeed another call to action that's rooted in love and compassion. I want to pair these words and really root ourselves even further in something that Lobsang often talks about, is the limitless human potential to restore hope through the practice of love and compassion. In fact, it was nearly 24 years ago to the day that Lobsang first talked about Jhamtse and this human potential and love and compassion in Concord, Massachusetts. And over the last 24 years, through Jhamtse Gatsal and through the film and so many other ways, this message of Jhamtse has indeed been a source of hope for thousands and thousands of people around the world. And we're here today to really celebrate this 24-year journey, a journey of hope that inspires joy and inspiration. And there's some key milestones and deep meaning that we want to really focus in on today, starting with the foundation of the Jhamtse Gatsal Children's Community, which this year turned 18 years old. And a once called brave social experiment in that time has become a beacon of hope, or what many call a model of educating the heart, mind, and body, a model of sustainable and mindful living, as well as cultural preservation and indigenous knowledge. And I also want to now acknowledge the presence of many members of the Jhamtse Gatsal Children's Community. There's a couple of teachers on the call with us. There's some graduates of Jhamtse Gatsal who are at colleges and universities, and others who have now begun their careers of service and giving back who are on the call. And I just want to issue a shout out to all of you members of the Jhamtse Gatsal Children's Community who are with us to say thank you for serving as a source of inspiration. And thank you for indeed being a part of the beacon of hope that the community has been for 18 years. We're also here to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Tashi and the Monk. I was talking to Andrew the other day, and Andrew said, you know, Mark, when Johnny and I finished making the film and we were putting it out there, we viewed the film as an offering, as an invitation for people to spend 39 minutes at Jhamtse Gatsal to experience and feel and sense the meaning of the garden of love and compassion. Over the 10 years, we've received thousands and thousands of messages from people around the world who have seen the film. The number one word that people said over and over and over again was hope. I'll paraphrase, but it was basically, for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. And now 10 years later, Andrew and Johnny are at it again. Throughout the course of this year, they are well underway in the making of a new film, a follow-up film, which for now we're going to call Tashi and the Monk 2. We're also here to talk about the launch of a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign to support Andrew and Johnny and their team to finish this film so that it can be released next year in 2025, so that we can continue the journey. Because the next film we intend to be an invitation and an offering for many, many more people around the world to experience Jhamtse Gatsal and the meaning of it, and to also join us on this journey. And so what we're going to do today in terms of our agenda, it's really going to be kind of an informal flow. Selena is going to initiate the conversation with Lobsang and Andrew and Johnny to start with some questions so that they each can reflect on what's most important to share within this framework, but also represents this journey, this notion of hope, all rooted in Jhamtse, but also to talk about the film and where we're going to go with this. We will, after 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to open this up, we'll unmute everybody so that we can have a live Q&A. We feel it's really important in this kind of a family gathering that people have an opportunity for Lobsang to maybe see your video or to hear your question live. Also, please feel free to put any questions or comments that you have in the chat, and we'll try to bring those up and raise those as we get to it. Once we're done there, we want to talk about the really exciting news about the Kickstarter campaign. And then towards the end, we'll have Lobsang sort of really summarize this and root us in where we're at right now moving forward. So that's the agenda. And thank you again so much for being with us. This such a joyful occasion. And with that, Selena, I will flip it to you. And I think what I'll do, you know what, I'll just stay on. I'll mute myself, but I'll stay on video.
Thank you, Mark. And it's so wonderful to see everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. I'll dive right in. My first question is for Lobsang, and I think it's a question that is on the mind of everybody here. And it's really this idea that 10 years has passed since the first film, since many of us were introduced to the community and to Tashi and to you, Lobsang. So I'd love for you to reflect on what has happened in these 10 years. What has changed? How have you evolved? How has the community evolved? And what are some of the challenges maybe that have shaped the community and yourself over the years? So that is for you, Lobsang. Question.
Uh, okay, good to see all of you. It's a wonderful feeling. I'm in Delhi right now. It's pollution, air pollution is so bad here. Uh, I have a congested throat and everything, but so wonderful to see many old friends and new friends. Yeah, biggest change is I started losing more and more hair. A little bit I have. I think another 10 years, if you're lucky to see after 10 years, I will lose everything. So my hairstyle is changing a lot now. And I try to get some tattoo on my face. I don't think you can see. Let me show you. So I can look a little different. um, wow. Yeah, I think a very purpose of Jhamtse Gasal is you know, there are definitely a few important reasons why I started this. And one is, as I mentioned this many times, for very a personal level. It was not just meant to do something for other people, but for my own transformation, for to become, to find my the best self, to dig into my own deep inside me and trying to able to understand myself. And that has definitely always been one purpose of starting Jhamtse Gasal. I mentioned this many times to many people, even for my own colleagues who are at Jhamtse Gasal. This is a place for self-transformation. Um, all these 10 years now since we, first Tashi and a monk, I think the most challenging is if I be very honest, brutally honest, I might sound like a little being philosophical, but I really mean it. I reflected this for quite a while. I think the biggest uh, challenge in this journey of love and compassion is journey of Jhamse Gasal Children's Community is facing myself. Not easy. Uh, um, you see, uh, Jhamse Gasal is an environment where one can really actually do a deep self work, and it's not easy. But often uh, I get this idea of that I want to change the world. It means I want other people to change. Uh, I think it is the biggest challenge, as I said, facing myself is how do I change my mindset? I'm not here to change other people, but I'm here to transform myself and find my better self. When you are in this uh, uh, time, when I say you are, when I, you know, go out to the world with the attitude of changing the world or the changing the other people's life, when I am not ready to really embrace my own darkness or my own challenges, I think I ended up making world more messy. I ended up causing not only pain for myself, but first people who are around me. Um, so this is uh, something that I often think. Uh, I see Jhamtse Ghazal as my very personal uh, self journey towards finding myself, finding my better self. So, so if I see this as a job or something, and I look at, oh, Jhamse Ghazal sounds like an amazing place, and I go there and I do these things, and this will take away all my challenges, my struggles, and I go with the expectation, but rather understanding Jhamse Ghazal is an environment where I need to really drive deep into myself to work on my own challenges and contributing or giving, helping others really means to changing myself. Uh, so which is not easy. Which is not easy. Uh, but I think I'm very optimistic and hopeful. If I don't give up, and which I am not ready to give up, maybe it may take another few lifetimes. I know I'm on this journey towards right direction, regardless of my outcome. So here is love means, here is Jhamse means. In a normal world, I love you, so you have to change for me. But here, the Jamsega's approach is, I love you, so I will change. I am ready to change. I am prepared to change. So that mindset has to shift. So, yeah, it's a difficult, but it is a good journey, I think. Now I'm being a little too serious or philosophical. It has to be a little bit, how we say, fun and casual, I guess serious. I could see Andrew's face. He's getting more serious than me.
I think it's perfect. It's interesting what you're saying, Lobsang, because I did get to spend 3 months at the community actually, and there's something very powerful that happens when everyone around you is doing so much work on themselves to transform themselves. I definitely felt the ripple effect of that, and whether I wanted it or not, I started to change from the inside as well as a result of spending time in the community. So I am curious, just Mark and sorry, Andrew and Johnny, if that was your experience at all visiting the community. And Andrew, you and I were having a conversation a while back, and you mentioned this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, who said that the next Buddha could be a community. So maybe you can connect it to that quote as well. I'd love for you to elaborate on that, but also just what your experience has been with the community in this regard.
Hi, everyone. So just as a brief disclaimer, I might have been looking quite serious while Lobsang was talking there, but that's because it's 7:30 in the morning and I'm on my first cup of coffee. So, but I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm loving seeing where everyone is in the chat and these little points of light all over the world in this extraordinary opportunity to come together and share this time together. And it's always a pleasure for me to hear Lobsang speak and see Johnny's face. And this is really fun. So in terms of I've already forgotten the question, Selena. What was the question? Oh, the next Buddha being a community. So I think what resonated for me about that quote was, in a way, my experience at the community was that Lobsang couldn't be all things to all people at all times. And so what what I thought was special was that he created a vessel, he created a space within which all of these people were living. And so much of the magic that I witnessed taking place was happening in the quiet moments or the noisy moments where people were interacting. And there was this wonderful sense that I came away with, that we heal each other, that it doesn't have to be a piece of philosophy that we learn or a meditation practice that we master, but it's about how we interact with each other in all of our day-to-day activities, and just watching kids caring for one another and showing kindness to one another, showing compassion. And these are kids whose early lives have been unimaginably challenging. And so to remind ourselves of that while we were there, surrounded by joy, surrounded by happy faces, surrounded by very open hearts, was really special, actually, for Johnny and I, who were two sort of somewhat broken, survivors of the boarding school system in the UK, which is what I would describe as a fear-based education system rather than a compassion-based education system. So to sort of swim in that soup for a while, to realize that the real healing comes from those relationships, those conversations, those small moments, was really profound for me. And that's why I think it's not a pyramid. I think it's this wisdom of a community, I think, can be very powerful. And that's why it's exciting that in these brief moments together we have something of a community. And I hope moving forward we can continue to build relationships and conversations and so on. And as we've been reflecting on how to bring the film to the world, the idea of sharing it with communities, using the film as an opportunity to bring people together, particularly post-COVID, everyone's, still kind of coming out of their shells, out of their homes, and learning to be with each other again. So for us, I think this film is an opportunity to gather people in a room or a space, and to start those conversations, interactions, and realize that we have this capacity to heal others and for them to heal us, and uplift each other, whether we know it or not. So that is my half a cup of coffee so far answer to that somewhat challenging question.
Johnny, did you want to add anything?
Andrew, everything Andrew said, I told him previously before the call. So he's taken all my words. So I have nothing to add.
Okay. Well, then my next question for all three of you, but maybe Lobsang, you want to start, is why now? So 10 years have passed since the first film. Why do you think it's important to share this message now, potentially with the current state of the world? I'd just love your reflections on that.
The world is in a phase of the rapid change, and our future is more unpredictable than ever. And what I see, the first Tashi and the monk played a big role, that I felt it played a role of love and hope activator. I didn't know that when first, I think Andrew and Johnny sent their final version of Tashi and the Monk to us, and I think Vasu and Vasudha and I was watching, and my reaction was, who's gonna watch this? I think I also mentioned to Andrew, if I come to your place with the camera and I will make a movie from morning to the end of the day, and you think people will watch it? And as usual, Andrew with his smile as it is different, Genla. So I didn't know what that did to people, but as I started traveling and meeting people, and it really, one thing it did was whoever watched Tashi and the One, it really activated their love and hope. So I think it is a time the world needs another love activator. It's the time the world needs another hope activator. The humanity has to last. Humanity has to flourish. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, when we see around the world, there are so little which can activate people's hope and love, because it's not, it doesn't exist, but we are overwhelmed by so much of, the media, the politicians, and all these powerful things happening all around us. And I think we all know that is this kind of documentary can play a big role in reaching out to people, spreading hope, and bringing a message of love. I think 10 years, after 10 years, I think it is now again needed, I feel, in many levels.
Yeah, and it's sort of taking the control back. So even if the world around you feels unpredictable, you can focus your energy on love for the self and
Yeah, yeah, as I mentioned, you see, Jhamtse, love is a self-work. It is a work. It is a love is a conscious act, no matter what happens in the world. It has often nothing to do with when we understand what truly a help means. It is not a reaction to bad, good, to the neutral. It is a conscious act one has to activate. External situations like war, corruption, politics, poverty, things can activate if you can use those external situations as an activator, and though you can activate to actually evoke or ignite this amazing energy inside you despite what situation is outside. And we are talking about Tashi and the monk, so I could speak a little bit about the Tashi. In the first time when Johnny Andrew came, Tashi was maybe around 4 or 5 years old. And at that time, her world was very different. I see 10 years later, world has changed, didn't change much. I see war, I see poverty, we see, it's still happening, they're almost the same. In a big picture, when you look at, I don't know how much the world has changed. But I see this little Tashi has a change. Because her journey at Jhamse Ghazal Children's Community is truly, again, her own journey of understanding herself, and her own journey of, the activating, igniting her love energy within herself. And so today, that what I see as this world is the, whether world needs Tashi and among two or not. But I look from my very personal perspective, my life is I need as much as activator like love, Tashi and among two and other inspiring stories and things. So I could use them as a truly to activate my own love. So I can start. So I can remain grounded. So truly, I believe my biggest contribution, if I have an intention to make a contribution to the world, is changing myself. It is difficult when you work in a social sector like us, what people call it social work. Because love is not always a beautiful, no, love is messy. Love is messy. Love is self-work. And when we cannot ignite our own love, if we cannot, sometimes we cannot activate our love, we actually get very deluded. We get this self-delusion of I am going to go out and change the world, means somebody's life. As I said at the beginning, with that attitude, we mess up people's life also. Love means looking inward and willing and ready to work with this messiness within me, ready to embrace this darkness inside me. And am I ready to take that responsibility? Am I ready and prepared to deal with my own conflicts inside me? And I think that for that reason, so I think it is a very powerful. Few days before Johnny showed me this I think 4 minutes of what you did with these recent, and it again activated something differently. It's a difference sometimes, I'm there with everybody, with the children, but sometimes somebody put all together for the 4 minutes, and when you watch on a screen, it has a different effect or impact on you. I was feeling very, activated. So I think, I think it's a time, and
Thank
I really trust both Andrew and Johnny, their work, and I think that is your skill, but more than that, as you guys, as a very, very thoughtful, loving, compassionate filmmakers. I think that really, I see that how your energy is manifest. Your energy really manifests in your work, which I think that's the main reason how this is a documentary, a film of heart. It's not for the mind or the eyes. I think it's a documentary for heart, to heal our heart, to heal our wound, and then activate the hope and love. So I think we have so many action movies, violence movies. I think we need.
I'm curious, thank you, Lobsang. Johnny and Andrew, you two have had kids since the first film. You've both become parents. And I'm wondering if that has at all changed the way you think about the first film, or what your motivations were behind the second film, if you want to talk to that.
Well, I haven't got 134 kids like Genla has, so 2 is a lot to handle. I can't imagine having any more than that. I think it does change things. It does change your perspective. I mean, one of the things with the second film is, I think, is that the community has grown from when we were there 10 years ago, and there's what it was 86 kids. It's now 128 kids or 136 kids, and it's been amazing to see that growth from when we were there 10 years ago, and to realize actually the community has been able to take in more kids and save more lives, and just to see what were the tiny kids are now all 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and they're young adults. And that's kind of amazing to see. They were just little scraps playing in the mud 10 years ago, and now they're young adults, and they're thinking, and they're behaving in a very interesting way, very compassionate, kind way to each other, and they're trying to find their own way in the world. And I think that's what makes the second film very interesting and pertinent, is that, when we made the first film, the community was, I think, 7 years old, Genla, is that right? And in some ways, the main focus was the small kids. And now here, 10 years on, actually, the community's 18 years old. And the kids are now, many of them are teenagers or young adults. And so somehow the second film will deal with that shift of and there's different challenges. Tashi age 5, there's different challenges with Tashi age 15. And she's, seeing her on the cusp of adulthood, of young womanhood, is a kind of fascinating time in her life. And one of the things that's so exciting for the second film is that, in the first film, every now and again, someone would watch it and they would say, well, was Tashi happy to be filmed? And she was very, very young when we made the first film. So, there is a question about, could she really consent to be filmed? Of course, she could run off if she didn't want to be filmed. But, now, 10 years later, when we've been filming with her, it's wonderful because, we know that she's proud. We've spoken to her and done interviews with her, and she speaks a lovely, very gentle English. When she speaks English, it's a beautiful, lovely, soft voice she's got. And it's just great that she's totally bought in to being the star of the second film. Upstaging you, I'm afraid, Genla. You're going to have to do some action scenes to, get you back on the main billing. And but knowing that Tashi is, hearing her voice from herself and her own words is a really, really sort of precious and beautiful thing. And I think it's going to make the second film, you're going to feel even closer to who this lovely young woman is and her challenges, in the same way as you do when you hear Genla's interview in the first film. So I feel very excited about the filming that we've done so far. We did a bit of filming with Tashi where she read out a poem that she'd written to her mother, and I showed it to you, Genla, last week, didn't I? A couple of days ago, and it's just very, very heartbreaking and beautifully poignant and hard not to cry, because it's a poem she wrote to her mum, and her mum died when she was very young. And I think that's the thing that in the first film we couldn't really get that from Tashi because she was so little. And now with the second film we have a kind of incredible chance to really let her speak in her own words, as well as other people in the community and other stories that are evolving and developing as well. So it's a very, very exciting time for the second film, I feel.
I mean, the number one question that we got during Q&As after we'd screened the film was, how's Tashi doing now? And so there was this curiosity, in a way. Tashi aged 4 or 5 is a question mark. She's come to the community in this very hardened, kind of clenched state, full of fear expressed as anger, and really kind of alone in a way. And there's a huge question mark there around, is Lobsang's patience, is the soup of the community going to kind of soften her? And so I think, I love films that have a passage of time. It sort of feels like magic when you're watching a film and it jumps forward 10 years and suddenly you get to see this incredible difference between then and now. And so for me, Johnny and I over the years have talked with Genla and with Mark about going back and almost done it and not quite done it, and somehow the time felt right. I mean, incredibly inconvenient for us because Johnny and I now have 2 small children of our own, so we're not quite able to just pack everything up and go up there for 3 months in the way that we did the first time round. But yeah, that curiosity. I mean, it's funny because I remember being on stage with Genla and he said, everybody asks about Tashi. How's Tashi? How's Tashi? What about the monk? And and so, obviously Lobsang is a huge part of the film. That goes without saying, and sort of seeing how he's changed, how the community has changed over those 10 years. I was and I remain fascinated to sort of dive into that and explore that, and so that's why I think it wasn't so much the external world that was calling to us. It was the sort of internal world of Tashi's growth as a human being, her progress, if you like, or her progression, and the question of, can the garden of love and compassion raise or turn a very fearful, angry, scared little human being into a kind, caring, loving adult? You'll have to watch the film and find out.
I love the teaser, Andrew. Speaking of the Garden of Love and Compassion, so the first one really focuses on the physical Garden of Love and Compassion, which is this community on top of the mountain. I think the second one, I'd love you to elaborate on this, but it expands beyond the physical place, and it's this idea that the Garden of Love and Compassion is also in our hearts. So I feel like Lobsang, you've also sort of addressed this idea somewhat in your previous comments, but if you want to expand on this idea that the Garden of Love and Compassion isn't just a physical place, and how the second film aims to bring it beyond the community in that sense.
Hmm. Good question. You have to repeat that again. Because it's a good question.
It's this idea that the Garden of Love and Compassion, it's not just a physical place, it's also in our hearts, right? And if we start to see it that way, that has a different impact in our own lives. So if you could just elaborate on that, and maybe it's what you were saying before, but would love your thoughts.
Yes. Say maybe over 8, 9, 10 years, I don't remember, when I was in the States. Only I have been doing was to talking love, talking compassion. As we say, as always, anything is much, much easier to talk than do. Afterwards, you question yourself what you're saying. Is it really true? Is love really action? Is compassion really action? Really curious. What if what I'm saying, if I can translate that into action, what kind of impact it will have? The another question is, does really love has so much power, to bring such a transformation? And these are questions, I always had in my mind as a very, very difficult, a young monk. I know how it has changed my life. For other people, for the world, is I'm a normal person now. But for me, is I'm a champion because I know where I came from. My life didn't start like other people's, like in a normal. Starting point of my life was so different. Person who is built with so much hate, so much darkness, the only better option I found was to kill myself. Coming from that start to just being able to normalize so much of my thinking, and I can behave with other people, for me is a big, big, big accomplish already. For the world, is a normal thing. But for me, it is, I would say, gold medal. And now, when I see so many children, they are on a same path towards the same direction. It is definitely not a place. It is something basically I see as an environment. Can we create an conducive environment where every individual and collectively, as an individual and as a community, we can focus on our self-transformation, focus on self-work, not changing the world. Because as I said, I repeat this, love means self-work, deep, 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 deep self-work, not work for others. Job, you work for others, you get paid. But Jhamtse means self-work. Your biggest contribution to your organization, even if you get paid, is to changing yourself. But many of us, we get confused. We work in such an organization, we think our job is to change other people. My job is not to solve Tashi's problem. My sole responsibility is to change, solve my own problem. If I get kinder, more patient, more caring, and that is my job. I am paid to become a better person. And I thank you all, the sponsors and contributors from all over the world. You're paying me to become a better person. And my sole responsibility is to work on my own challenge and solve my own problem. But with that question, can love change me? Can love change the world? Is love enough to answer all this question? Is love enough and powerful to change my own anger, my hate, my own challenges? With that question, I started Jhamtse Gasal. I choose the place because I didn't want anybody to disturb me or anybody to tell me it is bullshit. And I didn't want people to come and get excited, saying, wow, this is amazing. No, it was very, very, very experiential. Personal experiential. I want to experience what I have been teaching to the world. I want to do it now. I said many times, Jhamtse Gasal is a living laboratory of love and compassion. I want to test with people like Tashi and everybody, including myself. Many people, they give up. They don't want to be the guinea pig because they want to change the world. They don't want to change themselves. I'm getting older, but I have more energy to work, be in Jhamtse Gasal. Because Jhamtse Gasal has an environment to really work on yourself, get better person. 18 years later now, Tashi and the monk 10 years, but we started Jhamtse Gasal 18 years before. Now I see how, especially people who are prepared and ready to find love in themselves, ready to work on themselves, I think we have a solution. I feel we have a solution. It is a time we have been receiving from last 18 years from people, receiving love from people, receiving generosity from people, and I mean it. And I'm very grateful, and now I feel this is a time for Jhamtse Gasal to pay back. Pay back, people. Share with the people what we found in 18 years in this remote mountaintop. It should not remain there. The seed is ready to spread. And my wish now is everybody who has been helping us, starting from them, I want everybody to activate your own garden inside you and focus on you. Activate your own self-love. Work on you and then ripple that outwards to your family member, your love. So, yes, I think, uh, although at the very beginning, I think we had so much discussion, I have been keep saying, oh, I'm not ready for the second Tashi and the monk. I am not ready. I'm not ready. Somehow they convinced me. I think now I'm ready. I think it's a good reason. I think it's definitely time.
And Johnny and Andrew, I'd love for you to weigh in on how storytelling can help spread this seed beyond the community, the sort of the power of film and storytelling to do this.
Sure. I mean, I love that Lobsang has brought his fierce warrior energy to this call. It's waking me up. It's great. Just one of the things that we were very conscious of with the first film, and even more so with this one, is that we didn't want the film to feel like a story that was happening in a remote place that was very nice, but could only happen there and was a unique set of circumstances. We wanted in some ways to tap into the deeper truth of what was happening in terms of the human experience, the human capacity for change and transformation. And that took many forms, just in terms of style of storytelling and so on. But one of the ways that sticks in my mind, and I can give Johnny credit for this, not much else, but this, is that no, I'm just joking, of course. Is the music that we used in the first film, and rather than having Indian music that would give the film even more of a sense of its geography, we very intentionally chose to use Western music as a way of sort of bridging with the audience, because it was a way to allow them to feel a sense of familiarity or feel more of a closeness to what they were watching, rather than this distance, this sort of, we didn't want to exoticize, if that's a word, what was taking place. We wanted it to feel close. And I think that is even more on our minds this time round, where we sort of think about how do you spread the message? How do you sort of scale? That's one of these terrible Western sort of concepts, I guess. But the idea that within us, I love this gardening metaphor. I'm really running with it. We're talking about amongst ourselves about how can this film serve a bigger mission of cultivating compassion. And what I love about that is this notion that we have this garden within us. I think it's a lovely metaphor, because a garden is something that can be cultivated, that can be tended, that can be cared for, that if you don't care for it, it kind of goes into disrepair, or starts growing in all sorts of strange ways. And so I think it's a powerful metaphor. And what we want the audience to take away is not, I need to be like Lobsang, or I need to be like Tashi, or we need to start our own children's community in the mountains. It's much more of a sort of personal, hopefully a personal message of how can I tend to that garden within myself. And that in a way is the invitation, so that by watching this story that's taking place thousands of miles away from most of us, we're able to kind of feel and see ourselves and our own human experience playing out in some way, and bringing some kind of awareness to our own capacity to tend, to cultivate, to kind of nurture the compassionate, the better sides of ourselves. And that I guess is our goal with the film, is how can this amazing example, how can this social experiment, as we called it the first time round, teach us what can we learn from this community, from Lobsang's journey, from the kids who've sort of who've walked that path, and how can people incorporate that into their own lives, into their own experiences, their own families, their own workplaces, their own communities. That's our tiny ambition, I guess you could say. I don't know if you want to add to that, Johnny.
Only I'd say really that, when we made the first film, Andrew very cleverly got it to have its premiere at Mountain Film Festival. And from that premiere, it kind of grew a kind of momentum. But really it was kind of to some degree chance, because we didn't really have any resources to market the film or spread the film or anything like that. And that was just a very good decision of a festival to put it into, because it then got picked up and spread. But I think with the second film, I feel like we've got much clearer intentions and hopes, and we've got a bigger team. We've got Selena, Mark, everyone, all the Jhamtse people are helping. This, I mean, with the filming we're doing at the moment, all the translation work is being done by the older kids at the community, and they're doing an amazing job translating, hours and hours of rushes for us to be able to try and pick out the gems that we need. So there's a feeling of a much bigger team and a much bigger sense of momentum, I think, this second time round. The first time it was just sort of Andrew, me, and a small camera and a couple of laptops, one of which had actually been in a car crash and was bent rather like a banana. Do you remember that, Andrew? So we were on the sort of budget equipment at the time. So I think this time around we really have a hope that by having a bigger team and being able to plan better, we can really make an even bigger impact.
Selena, my dear co-host, can I interject? I know, as you know too, we've been following the comments as well as the questions in the chat. And thank you so much. There's been a lot of heartwarming feedback, messages to Johnny, Andrew, and Lobsang about this conversation. Thank you for that, and thank you for the questions. Being mindful of the time, I'm just wondering, I know that there is a video, a 4-minute video that gets into the story in a visual way, but there's also a lot of really interesting questions, both in the chat, and I've had some people message me saying that they want to ask direct questions live. So given the amount of time we have left, how do you think we should roll, Johnny and Andrew? Do you think
I'd love everybody to get a sneak preview of the trailer, because no one else has seen it really yet. So it's a little 4-minute video that, well, you guys can see some of the old film and some of the new film.
Let's do that. So Selena, you'll tee that up? You'll share it?
Yes, I'm happy to share my screen. Sure.
Perfect.
And are we going to break it up and stop in the middle like we talked about? Should we do that? Because the first half is just a refresher of some of the scenes from the previous film, and then
I sort of wonder, given the time, whether maybe just let it roll, because it's the new bit that's going to get everybody excited, isn't it?
All right. Do you want to just do the new bit?
Maybe.
Let's do the new bit.
Start at the new bit. Yeah, probably like the 1.5 mark, Selena, something like that.
Sorry, give me a sec. 1 sec.
And in the meantime, I will say, Johnny's talking about us having a team, but you're kind of looking at the team right now. Anna, who's also on the call, is helping me out. But if any of you would like to join us on this team, you are most welcome to become part of what we hope will be a community of bringing the film out into the world and sharing it. So do let us know, and we'll be in touch and let you know how you can help.
Andrew, Johnny, do we want to run the video with audio on so everybody can hear audio?
I think so. It'd be nice to let people enjoy a couple of minutes of the new film. So
sounds good. Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah.
Jhamtse right now is 18 years old, teenage. We have 128 children, a lot of emotions, a lot of excitement.
My name is Tashi drama. I used to be the wildest and naughtiest kid in this whole community.
Before, her only emotion was anger. Now she can show that her vulnerabilities, which I see as a very good sign.
We started as an experiment, as a lab of compassion, and we're testing to see how the compassion in a practice would change individuals' life and in a collectively. It's been amazing. A journey of making mistake, falling down, getting up, learning. If I see there is a child in this world who needs love, if I can invest on that child, someday that child will actually contribute back to the world.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.
That is amazing.
Bravo. Yeah.
Sorry, the video didn't play brilliantly there, so it's slightly juddery, but it gives you a little flavor of what Tashi's like now. And I mean, as she says in that video, one of the great things is, she used to be the naughtiest kid in the community, and she's changed. And now in the second film, we'll see the cycle of healing, which is that she's now the big sister, and she's actually helping two little boys, particularly, who are new to the community, and actually she's the sort of house captain looking after them. And so we see her go from being, the wild, troubled thing she was in the first film, to now having to sort of, deal with the next generation of little boys that are like her. So it should be very powerful, I think.
Mark, do you want to take it from here for the Q&A, or how do you want to do the next part? You're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, there's really good questions in the chat. I think we should just open it up. Should we take everybody off mute and let questions be asked live? I know some people have said they have questions, which I think want to be posed live. Did you track did anything jump out at you in the
Yeah, how about
chat
this?
that
How
you want
about
to highlight? There's been some really good questions. I know there's been questions of how did Andrew and Johnny first get connected to this and to everything in between. So what do you think, Selena? I kind of
Sure,
defer
I've
to
seen
you.
some great questions as well. I've got some names jotted down. So how about instead of unmuting everyone, because that could get really chaotic, how about I just call out some people's names and then feel free to unmute yourself and then pose your question if that works. And actually, Linda, you've had your hand up for a long time, so I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself first. Why don't you go ahead?
Hello and good day, everyone. This is just such an honor. I have to say, I have to commend Venerable Lobsang and the camera crew for the first video. The time I watched it, I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried some more. So thank you. This second time around, with all that is going on Mother Earth, the film will be beautiful. I have no doubt about that. But how can we bring love in action to people who are not trained as monks? Beloved Lobsang talked about that, articulated that perfectly. And the movie can move us in a direction of love and activate something within us. But many of the people in the Western world don't remember times when we were monks, don't remember times when we had a practice of being a monk and all the tools that we had available to us to work within ourselves, like quiet time meditation. How do we chant? Do we trace the calligraphy? Do we honor our spiritual fathers? Those are things that are lost to the Western civilization and even to many people in the East. They may have forgotten that because it lies in the previous incarnations. And that is something that I think, for me, I speak about that because that's something that I found with my present teacher. He's allowed me to remember times when I had that. And that is why I resonated with you, Lobsang, so much, so deeply. And if this message of love in action has to be, watch the movie, that's beautiful. You can cry, you can feel your emotions and opens your heart. But what comes after that? So that the feeling can be translated into action. And action is what moves mountains in ourselves and in others. So even if you can speak about that or have others speak about it in a non-religious concept, so that no one feels that you're trying to impose your Buddhist traditions on anyone else, and do it in a way that's open-hearted, even if it means bringing in people from other traditions to speak about love in action, so that this message of love can move mountains and really galvanize the message of Lobsang of Tashi too, in a big, momentous, earth-shattering, climb the mountain kind of way, in a way that it can be, I think. And I also wanted to ask, how many school mothers are there now? I know there were 4 previously, but with the expanded capacity that you now have, how many school mothers do you have now? Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Thank you so much. I love, 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 love what you guys are doing. Thank you.
So it's thank you so much. I think this time we are putting our effort to at least to have some the practical thing in the Tashi and among two, that people can see how they create the values, how love can be a skill. Love is a skill, and how one can actually cultivate the love skill, the compassion skill to integrate in our day-to-day life to become kinder and more compassionate world. I think this is a very deep and really big question, and I don't think I can able to answer this in a short time. But also, I think we are also, when we talk about this movie, will really actually now reach out to people to see the creating the opportunity, how this over now, I would say 20 years of this experiment and 20 years of this experiment, 20 years of this practices, how we can share in a deeper level with the people around the world. I think this is our second kind of planning. And there will be a lot of opportunities. You can, once the Tashi and Monk 2 is made available, it won't just end this time with the just crying and emotional, but it will now follow up with more, going to more deeper level. And this much I could say right now. And this is definitely an exciting moment. And I also said, in the region, actually, the entire the district level is schools are involved with us because of they were inspired by the things that we do. And the Garden of Love and Compassion is already people who are in the region. We are maybe able to make a direct contribution, but not into actually global level. But this time we are really putting effort to make a more accessible after Tashi and the Monk. have people have access to deeper level of cultivating love and compassion. I hope I answered your question. But thank you.
I'd love to read a comment here from Abhishek, who's a teacher at the community. He's on the call, which is so nice, and he's just written in the chat. Abhishek, maybe you want to unmute and just read this out yourself. I'd love for you to share this with everyone.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So I was wondering when Genla was sharing. It just reminded me of the retreats that we used to have with Genla, you know, and then how it relates to us every day. When we can see the seed, we can see the children growing in front of us, and it's amazing, on a daily basis. You see their ups and downs, their resilience, the things that they go through. And being a teacher in Jhamtse Gatsal, it is a rewarding experience because of that. You know, you get to impact on so many different types of like emotions within the children, eh? And that makes us compassionate. Even us teachers are learning from them. How to be happy amidst all of the things going on in this world. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. It's so nice to see you.
You too.
Marek had a question for Johnny and Andrew, which was, how did your journey with Lobsang start? Marek, if you're on the call, feel free to unmute yourself. Otherwise, Johnny and Andrew.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi there.
All right, great to be here. And thanks for the very inspiring film, really inspiring. And yes, really the question to Johnny and Andrew, how did your journey started with Lobsang and the film, really?
That's one for you, Andrew.
Oh, I love the way you jumped in there, Johnny. That was a nice handoff. So, there are various versions of that, and the one that I like best is that one day Lobsang was meditating on the mountaintop and created a vision in his mind and sent out some kind of message into the world. Yeah, sent out this message into the world, and somehow I was stumbling around, and it kind of fell into my head, and I was smart enough or stupid enough to heed the call and responded to an email. It was a completely out of the blue. I got a freelance. I was in India working on another project, and a friend knew I was in India and connected me with some other people I'd never met, who said, "We have 3 days of filming of a high schooler in the north of India. Would you like to do it?" And I said, "Sure." So at the time I remember Googling where Jhamtse Gatsal was, and it kind of wasn't even on Google Maps. It was so remote that there were no road. I thought, my goodness, how am I going to get up to this place? Took me 3 days to get there. I ended up spending 3 weeks there, and in those 3 weeks, well, very quickly realized that the assignment I'd been given was way less interesting than the community that I'd found myself in, or that somehow Lobsang had summoned me using the power of his infinite wisdom. So I made a commitment to him that I would go back, and 18 months later, I'd raised a little bit of money in the UK. And went back, and I managed to convince Johnny dangling the opportunity to go surfing in South India. I said, "Johnny, come and help me do this little bit of filming, and then we'll go surfing in South India." And he said, "Oh yeah, that sounds like an adventure. I'm certainly happy to come." And so he turned up at the community a few weeks after I'd been there. And honestly, without him, well, I mean, it's all so extraordinary how it came together and how it very easily might not have happened. And so that's how we found ourselves at Jhamtse Gatsal. But then how we found the film itself is another story.
Right. Yeah.
I could talk at length about that, but basically every time there was an argument or a fight or a discussion, I would go and look and see what was happening, and Tashi was at the center of it. And so it was clear that wherever she went, there was action. And so we decided to follow her around for a while. And Lobsang was extremely concerned about the fact that we were focusing on the naughtiest, most troubled child in the community, and thought, my goodness, he's going to make us look like a madhouse. You know, this could be a disaster. But luckily, he trusted us and allowed us, and the result is what you see. So that it all goes back to Lobsang meditating on a mountaintop and sending the vision out into the world. I mean, I obviously am joking, but I will also say that talking to Mark the other day, he was saying that Lobsang began talking about Jhamtse and Jhamtse Gatsal 24 years ago. And all it was the seed of an idea. And to sort of reflect on that, how in the course of 24 years, it's gone from an idea that he had in his mind to a physical space, to a home, to a family, to an extraordinary place of learning and progression, human evolution, if you like. And then the sort of flowering of the film and the journeys of all the people that have come into contact with that community. But it did all begin with the seed of an idea that Lobsang had all those years ago. So anyway, that's a long and slightly convoluted answer to your lovely question, Marek.
Thank you very much. Fantastic job. Thank you, guys.
I mean, just to add one more thing in, I mean, I think Beezy did write it in the messages there, but when Andrew and I went out to do this project, both of us were feeling quite depressed about filmmaking and the possibility of whether films could really make a difference in the world. And we'd been sort of trying and failing to maybe make a difference. And we'd actually both agreed if this film was a failure, we were going to give up doing films and go and do something different. I didn't know what that different thing was going to be, but it was going to be something different. And so, you know, it was incredibly lucky that, you know, the magic that is in the air up at Jhamtse, you know, for us to spend, you know, 3 months up there, every day you start to feel somehow better about yourself in a very subconscious way. And the film, you know, so for us, it was an enormous pleasure to be up there making the film and experiencing the community and the kids and the teachers and the Amalas and just, you know, and it's given us, the film gave us a personal kind of boost of self-belief and energy that, you know, even 10 years on, it's never gone away. The energy is still there. So, you know, we got given we got given more than we gave, really, by the experience.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Selena, you asked me a question, and I think I want to change my mind if it's okay, because as I look at the time, I know we thought we could wrap up probably in the next 5 minutes, but I feel like this conversation has been so meaningful, and so many people, more than 90, are hanging in there for this length of time. I know that we're really here to celebrate the making of this next film and the launch of the Kickstarter. And I think it might make sense for me to take 1 minute and share really exciting news. And then I want to come back. There's a couple questions. Beezy, I want to come to you if you're still with us. And then perhaps Lobsang can bring us home. But I think it's really important, since this is really sort of the focal point of our gathering here today, is to celebrate the fact that this crowdfunding, this Kickstarter, is now active. And it's going up as we speak. The numbers just changed. We activated this last night live because we wanted it to be ready for you all today. And this is what has happened already in just a few hours. And I first want to acknowledge Selena. Selena's been on this team, our team now, for about a year. She's doing remarkable work with sharing the meaning of Jhamtse, right, through our stories and newsletters and social. But Selena has run this entire campaign, and she's done a beautiful, beautiful job with this. I just want to take you through a quick tour of the page, and I want you to see on the right-hand side the gifts Actually, let me scroll over so you can actually see them. So if I come down, you can see the various gifts that you can pledge to. They start, smaller numbers all the way up to producer, associate producer, and everything in between. We already have 2 associate producer level donations, one of whom I believe is on the call today. So a big shout out to all of you guys. But one quick final comment before we come back to questions is this is now live. As a follow-up to this meeting, we'll share the URL so you can log in and you can take your time and you can peruse this. I quickly want to mention the $25,000 goal real quick. That was set intentionally small because with Kickstarter, you have to exceed the number in order to get the funds. Our intention all along with a crowdfunding community building platform is that we could do something much more and much more meaningful. And contributions to this film get back to something Lobsang said before, and it was echoed by Andrew and Johnny about there being love activator and hope activators. And those are necessary in the world as we move forward. And next year, that is indeed what Tashi and the Monk 2 is going to be, is a love activator, a hope activator on a global scale that we want to touch as many hearts and minds as possible, but do so in the deepest, most meaningful way as possible. So 25,000 is not the end goal. It's sort of the starting goal. We actually hope it goes much beyond that. And we are so overjoyed and rejuvenated by all the response of all of you guys who have been supporting this, sending us message of we're with you guys, we're in. And so this is now live and it's ready to go. And I want to circle back so we can come to some closure. BZ, you very patiently have been hanging in there. I wanted to see if you still have a question to pose for Lobsang, Andrew, or Johnny.
Well, I think at this point, I would just like to say that everybody on this call, I think supporting this Kickstarter is one of the most profound ways that you can help spread Jhamtse right now. All your contributions to the community are really important, and especially those of supporters who largely pay for the ongoing cost of operating Jhamtse Gatzel. But in terms of the impact that you can have on the world, the most important thing, I think, right now is to support the creation of this new film, which will cost many times the goal of the Kickstarter. But I really think this is the most valuable way that you can contribute right now. If you're not comfortable contributing in the form of a Kickstarter, then you can contribute to Jhamtse in any of the other ways that you normally do. And just with the memo that it's to contribute to the film. I think that this is just a wonderful gathering together. I'm excited that some of you are interested in figuring out how we can kind of maximize the community here. And I have some ideas about that. I think that's really exciting. I think that, this call could be the beginning of that, but the film itself, absolutely key to making that spread and happen. And I just look forward to more Jhamtse in the world.
Can I just follow up BZ quickly to say that BZ is an absolute legend. She was at the community while Johnny and I were making the film. And so she got a ringside seat to the whole process. And she has made the perilous journey up to the community, I'm going to say 20 times, BZ. Is that right? That you've probably...
No, I don't think it's quite 20, but it's a lot.
So BZ is someone that we've drawn a lot of inspiration from. And as Johnny and I were sharing a room up at the community, she was next door and we'd chat in the evenings, and she was very intimately involved. So it's lovely to see you, BZ, and thanks for those words.
No, it's so exciting to see this new film coming along and to see Tashi now. She looks so happy. That just warms my heart to see how happy she is.
Yeah. BZ, thank you so much. And I think if Genla's still on the call, it might make sense to circle back, but I just wanted to reiterate how much we appreciate all the support generosity of everybody on this call and those who couldn't be on the call. There's so much happening within this still relatively small community. But for us, because we're coming together around the second film and around this Kickstarter, I think there's three things to think about as we move forward. One is, yes, donating to this campaign helps us build community. And with that platform, this particular project of the second film might get introduced to hundreds of people who don't even know anything at all about Jhamtse. We can really build community. So if you also want to share the link that we sent to you with family and friends, you can propagate this. The third thing I'll come back to is what Andrew mentioned earlier. We're a small group, but together we can actually make a big difference. And right now, it's really the folks that you're looking at on the video that are spotlighted. We are very interested in building a global community of others who can come on this journey with us and help us make sure that with the next film, we can indeed reach and touch as many hearts with the true meaning of Jhamtse, love and compassion and hope as possible. So as Andrew mentioned before, please reach out to any one of us, however you choose to do so. Would love to talk to you about the community that we're building so that we can share this in the most meaningful way possible. But with that, let me just see, Genla, do you have a final thought or reflection in terms of what's been discussed today or what you want us to take away as we move forward that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think this second Tashi and a monk is really that I believe that it will be really a great tool to reach out many of the people who are already connected, but also a lot more the new peoples we can reach out. And through that, I think it is a time that we really, put effort towards oneself, one's own happiness, one's own meaning in a life, and also, making our presence on this earth more meaningful. So, as I mentioned, I think my earlier statement is, and at this time that we as a team, we are building, the subsequent sort of connection with the people where it doesn't just end with the a beautiful documentary, but documentary is going to follow up with you to how we can really go into deeper, more deeper into understanding the love, the compassion. And truly, I would say it is a time that all of us can actually open our own garden so we can plant a seed of love and compassion. And we can grow, we can cultivate, and we can make a ripple effects on all over the world. So thank you so much for everybody.
Thank you, Genla. And I know, one of the things I'm holding right now is it's amazing to me that 90 folks have hung in there for this more than 90-minute call now. And this is truly a special and unique opportunity to have Andrew, Johnny, Genla, all of us together. I'm kind of feeling like maybe we go just a few more minutes to see if anybody else has a question or two, but I want to be very mindful that it's getting very late in India. I'm reluctant to just say the meeting's over because it's really been beautiful and there's so many people still with us. Genla, would you have a few more minutes if anybody else had a question, or do you?
Sure.
Selena, I missed seeing your video on this. We need you in this. Should we just, to make it easy, should we just unmute and then people can just ask? No, that's no, Andrew, don't unmute. How should we open? I want to open it up. So folks, should we just do a hand raise and then?
Yeah, that's a great idea. If anyone who has a question, they can raise their hand. And
yeah, so if someone wants to ask a question, please raise your hand, and then we'll call out a name and you can unmute. We'll keep this going for a while.
There is a feature where you can click on the raised hand emoji, I think, but I'm trying to think how to do that.
me see if I can do it.
Click on reaction.
If technology-wise that's complicated, feel free to just unmute yourself and pose your question. I think that's fine
Yeah,
too.
that's a good idea. Who's ever ready to go? That's exactly. Let's just do that. Just please unmute and fire away.
This is Jerry Zadow. I want to say this. I've had the good fortune of getting to know Lobsang when he was a confused young monk in America.
I'm still.
Yeah, child. It's been an astounding, amazing ride. And Gatsal is more than just a place. And Jhamtse has affected huge numbers of people and hearts and so forth. And it's gone beyond a place. As Lobsang mentioned, the district, the region, India, etc. And as true practitioners of His Holiness Sea Learning Initiative, Lobsang and Jhamtse Gatsal is really ahead of the curve and used sort of as a model for what they were hoping to create. This is a really important, big deal at this moment in this strange world that we live in. I think this is something that needs and must be truly supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry, thank you. I've been looking at the raised hands. Ian, I saw your hand pop up first. Ian, can you unmute? And
yeah, hello, this is Ian McWilliam. Thank you very much for the presentation. This is all really interesting. And Lobsang, thank you for your thoughts about the school, the origins of the community, and so on. I was wondering, what are the plans for the future from an educational point of view and as a community? I mean, I'm a journalist and a teacher, and I've been seeing it develop online over the last few years. I guess I must have seen the film during lockdown, and I've been thinking of maybe seeing if I can find some way to actually go and volunteer there for a while. But you know, when it started, you're a remote school on a hilltop far away in Assam, but it seems to have been developing into a kind of an international project, which obviously could be an example for other communities and other educational institutions elsewhere. And I mean, I've seen the project of the presentations on your new projected campus, which looks very space age. So I'm just wondering, over the next couple of years, how are you expecting the community to develop?
Thank you so much for your question. This is another, wow, the difficult question. I think what I can briefly try to summarize this is, as I said, you know, before 18 years of start of Jhamtse Gatsal Children's Committee, it was just that I was in a stage of conceptualizing. And then 18 years, we tested so many things, our philosophy, values, how we can do what works, what doesn't work. And I think now, I should say more than I think is we see that that practically how things can be work and how things can be replicated. I think making my answer short, I think this new, again, a project of learning center with the Japanese architects, we are now actually turning our Jhamtse Gatsal as a learning hub. It is not just for the children who actually live there or study there, but we want to bring some of the best minds and hearts from all over the world, the educator, the caregiver, the parents, to the mountaintop to actually introduce and make accessible of our practices and what we do there, so they can bring back to their region and spread this. So this is a kind of plan that we have right now. In coming 3-5 years, we would like to see that happen. I hope I answered you.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you very much.
thank you, Ian. Samir, your hand's been patiently raised. Do you want to come? There you go.
Sure. Yeah, I have a few questions. So Venerable, when you talk about working on oneself, are you referring to the practice of meditation and the Buddhist Eightfold Path?
I am not really talking about a particular sort of tradition or the practices. Although my background and my whole life has been greatly rooted in the practice of Buddhism, but I think in a very secular manner. I think in a very kind of, we just like without imposing on anybody to accept and believe in any sort of religion or any sort of tradition. I think what we have been doing is over again 18 years is of that it is accessible for an any age and any people the background of the faith and belief. So those are very in many ways I would say simple but very profound, deep impact that one can have, and that's like 18 years of doing this. We feel that we need to, or we want to share this with and make it accessible to anybody who is interested.
Okay. Can I ask a couple more questions just to the filmmakers, if I may, and the organizers, and also to Venerable. Are there opportunities for kids around the world to be connected or involved with the kids at Jhamtse Gatsal? How would kids do that?
Say it again, please.
Are there opportunities for kids around the world to be connected to or involved with or in communication with kids at the community in India?
We do have this intention eventually, kids connecting to each other, but right now, be honest, we don't have such a system or even as resources so we can make that happen. But I hope eventually, in a coming or near future, that we could make those even connections with children to children. We hope so.
Okay. And final question about sort of continuing this conversation. There are platforms like Discord where you can set up what they call a server, and people can join and sort of continue the conversations and the community building. Is there such a platform? It doesn't have to be Discord per se. Is there one that's being used at the moment for Tashi and the monk, or just the community in general? Or if not, do you want me to set one up? It just takes a few minutes.
It's a really good question. Actually, we don't right now. And I think I mentioned in Ali that this is we're hoping. I think the entire team is right now. We are a very small team and we don't have a lot of resources to do all this thing. But now we have a clear intention. And, as soon as the Johnny Andrew, they're ready to actually share this second Tashi among with the world. So we are thinking of coming up with some ideas or some, the plan to connect people through internet technology, whatever. So we hope so. We really hope. But at this time, we don't have enough resources to do all these things.
Okay.
Time and resources.
Can I jump in with a quick response to that question? Thanks for the question, Samir. And I think a Discord server or thread is a really interesting one. I'm thinking about a very cutting edge technology called knitting circles, which are basically groups of people that come together to knit and have conversation. And so my sort of feeling is that we don't want scattered individuals. I mean, this is important as well, scattered individuals working on their own, but we want to find ways of bringing people together. And Anna, who's on the call, who's been working with me to start to build a community of former volunteers who've been to Jhamtse Gatsal. I was thinking that rather than, we need help researching partner organizations, people who might be interested in screening the film, people who might be interested in supporting the community eventually, all that sort of thing. But I thought that the cutting edge technology of knitting circles might be the solution, where we could find a kind of office hours type of situation where we could all come together similar to this and just quietly be working and talking and sharing ideas and in the process building community. And I think that's for me the really key thing is that if the actualization of the film and the distribution can bring into being some of these concepts around community, around connection, around conversation, around mutual healing. I mean, who knows? I think knitting circles probably provide a lot of healing in the world. So as much as technology is a wonderful thing, I think old technology is also a good thing. And mark my words, knitting circles are the future.
Wow. I heard Andrew say that a couple of days ago. I thought it was a metaphor, but now I think he's totally serious. So that's really interesting. Samir, thank you for the question. You're going to ask a question on behalf of Rachel, who's at work, but I want to come to Krista because Krista has had her hand raised. Basically, Krista, it's really lovely to see you. If you can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. I don't know if this is a question or a statement. You can decide. I think what you are doing is creating a bridge out of an old paradigm that says you need to serve humanity. I mean, I've done this my whole life, and you need to be selfless. And if you love yourself, you're being selfish. And there is a huge flip going on in my life. And I think your work and your words are so affirming of loving yourself helps you put your feet on the ground solidly. It's not this, ideal that you're trying to constantly chase after. And I don't know if you have any more comments to say about that, but it has changed my life. And when I first saw the film, it was like the seeds of that were brewing inside, and it was one of those things that started to help flip it even further. And today has done that more so. So I think that may be another element of your work that is very important. So thank you.
Thank you, Krista.
On that subject, Johnny and I, as English people, can testify to the difficulty of loving oneself. So that is our spiritual quest. And no, that's a beautiful insight. Thank you, Krista. And for all of us, we're all a work in progress. Tashi's a work in progress. Lobsang, I'm sure, would describe himself as a work in progress. So in a way, the film, the second film, the first film, they seek to kind of accompany people in that work and in that kind of raising of their own awareness and their own self-love. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting shift from selfish to selfless. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well said. Well said. Thanks again, Krista. Selena, did you want to ask the question that Rachel posed?
Sure. So Rachel wrote down, I wanted to thank you again for teaching me about love and compassion. I saw your video first when I was high school, and it brought a lot of inspiration as I'm now in school to be a teacher. Give my thanks and love to Tashi and the children as well. But my question is, what is some advice you could give for me as an upcoming teacher? And how can I start incorporating love and compassion for my future students? I think this one's for you, Lobsang.
Very difficult question all of you are asking. I think the patience is a must. Now, I don't feel I can advise you, but my own experience I have a good experience. I have also many bad experience. I did some good, or I also did some bad, maybe unintentionally. But patience is so important to have. And I think sometimes love is not something that we can give or somebody can take. Love is always something that you can have within yourself. And I keep saying, how I can activate my own love within myself. The quality of love is also not that we cannot measure that how people are responding to your love. Often the quality love you can only measure how it is impacting and changing you as a person. English is my second language, but myself being from Buddhist background, I often think that when love you put into action, and the first step is what we call it generosity. But today, work even I do as a teacher or as a somebody trying to do something in a society, I always try to understand my act through generosity, not as a charity or the social service or doing and helping. You know. So in this case, you see, when we do something as serve, or when you want to do something for other people, the impact and quality of your doing and helping and supporting other people is always measured by how the other receiving end, how we are making impact on the receiving end. But the generosity is nothing to do with what you are giving and whether how people are responding and reacting to you or not. But the quality of generosity and love is to really to see the quality of your own intention, and the quality of love is how it is impacting you as a person. Sometimes you as a teacher, you work so hard for like me for 18 years. What if somebody never appreciates you? And would you, I'm not saying to you, me, I'm talking about myself now. You know, would I really measure the quality of my love, quality of my patience, quality of my openness is whether how the other person is responding to me or not? No. I think it is, I need to see, not the outside, I need to see how that love that I have for somebody else, my students, how did that love make me more patient? How did that love change me as a person? Love we are talking is often not love. Love, I think the real love has to really shine or come out when situation crush you. Especially when you think, I love this person, and you give from your heart everything, and that person comes to you and crush you. At that time, if you can release the fragrance, then you are changed as a teacher. If at that time, the person comes, that person or situation comes and crush you, if you release, they smell like a skunk, then one can say, I don't love anybody. So my teacher used to say, if you're real sandalwood, then when I burn it, I will know what you smell. So that's why self-love. When I say I want to love my children, I learn to love my parents, it's a self-work. It is not giving them a gift. It is not sending them a message, I love you. Love is, I said, conscious act. Act, maybe the receiving end person will not receive. Sometimes this love, conscious act may not see as a beautiful, it may look like a very wrathful. People will say you are mean, you are bad, but only oneself can check or the measure whether it is pure test, whether it is pure love or not, is how that love is energy is impacting you, changing you as a better person. I think now I went to the teaching mood. Sorry for that, but it's a very important question, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really important. Wait a second. Selena just said, wow, we're close to doubling the goal already.
I think so. We've definitely exceeded the original goal, and I think we're close to.
Yeah, I saw earlier in the chat, you said we exceeded the goal. Now we've doubled it. I think we should just keep talking for a while, don't you? Actually, I think we have time for one more question. There's one more hand raised, and then Selena had the really good idea that we will unspotlight ourselves, and then we get a whole gallery because Selena wants to take a picture of the full gallery, and we can all smile. But Manoli, you've had your hand patiently raised. If you
Hello, and I'm from Singapore. I see everybody from Europe and Switzerland and all. I don't see anybody from my region, and I thought I would like to make a comment. I'm actually an educator. I'm a teacher. I've taught for 36 years, and just like 5 or 6 years ago, I chanced upon your Tashi and the Monk. And I was so touched, and I have been sharing the video with all my colleagues, and even I use it as a resource during my lessons. I teach English language, so actually I'll let them watch, and I do a reflection and also discuss the characters and the character Tashi. And my students have been asking me about how Tashi is at this moment. But I also chanced upon a video with Lobsang and Tashi in one of the videos, I think, and I did show them, but there was no movie. It was just I think a picture or something like that. And also I have shown my students the TED Talk that Lobsang did. And yes, that's my journey with, and I'm also one of the sponsors. After watching the movie, I decided to sponsor a child. I'm so grateful that I have been invited for this, and I hope to be on this journey with y'all. And I just would like to know how I can be of use to your work. And one more thing is, like, I don't see many people aware of this movie, The Tashi and the Monk in Singapore. So as you all mentioned earlier, that you all are going to make it a little more accessible for people around the world, and I hope to see that. And also about the curriculum, I think some people asked about the curriculum. How is it that you're able to develop the students to be so compassionate and loving, which is something very challenging in schools around the world, because we don't focus on the heart. Our focus is all on the mind, developing the mind. We are not developing the heart so much. But in Singapore, we are trying to have a curriculum to help do that. But I'm not sure how you do it. So I'd like to know a little bit if there's time. Otherwise, it's fine. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Lovely,
Thank you,
lovely
Manoli.
message.
Yeah. Genla, did you have a response to the latter part of that, or?
I think this is, wow, everybody who is today participating, they all have all amazing and great question. I think one, truly appreciate your support, your enthusiasm. One thing when it comes to educating heart, most important part is to really create a culture, because that is a step one, I think. And as we said, I think after this Tashi and the Monk second, and I will also put a lot of effort onto really reaching out to the schools, and team will figure out to how we can make these things accessible to anybody who is interested. As Andrew said, somebody who is really serious, is not randomly seeking for information, but we really want to do this in our school, how we do it. And we are really thinking deeply, how we can actually make this happen and accessible for other people. But again, how we set the culture, even it's a small classroom, how we can actually build the culture of love, culture of, even when you are not doing intentionally, consciously, the culture can actually, culture is working behind the children. Something, I feel the schools can actually teach. You see, the schools are focused on teaching how to run a business, how to run the organization, or how to run. But one thing I think schools did not understand is you cannot teach how to run life. You cannot run life. You have to learn how to live life. In order to learn how to live life, you cannot teach this as a math or science necessarily. And when you run something, a machine, you can run machine, you can run phone, you can run computer, you can run machinery things. Life you cannot run. Life we need to live. So our modern education is somehow brainwashed that, our life is also to run. You cannot run life. So how to live life, I think. When I talk about educating heart, when I talk about the education of life, is to live life. So this is something that has to start with the educators, first to educate themselves, and how to first to learn how to live our own life meaningfully. And that way we can create a culture. Oh my goodness, I think it's a very complicated question you asked, but very meaningful. And I will keep this question in my heart, and I will work harder. So next time when we see, maybe in Singapore, because Tashi and the Monk, first one is also screened in Singapore in a Buddhist film festival.
Oh,
I was
really?
there. Yeah, yes, I was there. So next second time you be ready. So I
I
will
will be
come with the
ready
real
to see
deep
you.
question.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
Can I just share one final thought after that? Because I've written down creating a culture. I think that's a beautiful insight. And what I would add to that is continuing this garden metaphor. The gardener doesn't teach the plant how to grow. It creates the conditions in which the plant can grow. So it trusts the plant's innate intelligence. It knows the plant knows how to grow. It just tries to create the conditions, the ideal, the best possible conditions for that growth. So that idea of it in the human context, that's the culture. That's what I was talking about earlier when Johnny and I found ourselves immersed in the soup of Jhamtse Gatsal. It's a culture, it's a garden in which the innate intelligence of the human being, the human heart, is allowed to flourish. So I just wanted to add that, and while I've got the mic, just say this has been amazing. Best start to a day ever. My coffee's finally kicked in, so I'm ready to go for another couple of hours. But this has been so fun, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And it's so nice to see people's faces. We make the film and we put it out into the world, and it's always great to meet people in person at screenings and at film festivals and so on. But often it's just numbers on a website, and it's lovely to see people's faces and to hear people's reflections. So huge appreciation to everyone, and thank you so much for being here.
Beautiful, Andrew. I can't even add to that. So I just want to say, I think there's no more hands raised at the moment. Selena had a good idea of taking a group photo. So what I'll do is I'm going to remove the spotlight of a few of our luminaries here. Definitely want to remove it off myself here. We'll leave Gendler as the last spotlight. But in this way, we should all be able to see. Actually, Gendler, I can't even, because you're in on your phone, I can't change it for Gendler. Gendler's going to be spotlighted no matter what. If everybody wants to use the Zoom view and go to gallery view, it's a really big gallery. Obviously, there's still 60 folks on the call. I have 2 pages of 30 and 30, but Selena, I don't know. Do you want to take? We'll go page 1 or something. If people are comfortable popping off the video. Humera, hello there. I haven't seen you today. There you are. Oh my goodness, it's so great to see all these videos. If folks want to come off video, we can do a Luis. Oh my goodness, I wish I could have seen the gallery before. I'm sorry. Wow, this is really heart touching. There's Darren. Oh my. Oh my. So Selena, do your thing. I don't know how you're taking the photo, but we'll snap away. We'll take some photos of the 2 pages.
Yeah, everybody just smile and I'll take a screenshot of all of you. So
Wow. Johnny, what are you doing there, Johnny? You ringing a bell? What was that?
Me, I'm doing screen grabs as well myself. It's
Oh,
so
I
cool.
saw your hand up. I thought you were maybe ringing a bell or something.
Sorry.
Wow.
I'm
Yes.
just enjoying all the smiling faces.
Yeah, I think, back to how we started this conversation was literally almost to the day Lobsang planted the seeds that Andrew talked about of Jhamtse. It's been a 24-year journey to this point. Now next year, Jhamtse celebrates 25 years. And as the film comes out, I think we get to envision a world 25 years from now. And what does that world going to look like? And based on what we all just talked about and our common sensibility in this community that we're building, we have this amazing opportunity to make a difference in what that world becomes 25 years from now and beyond for future generations. So that's my kind of last thought. I just wanted to say so deeply grateful to have been on this journey with so many of you for a long time. Many of you on this call have been on this journey for more than 20 years. So thank you for being on the journey. To our new friends, thank you for joining. And to friends to come, yeah, let's keep it going and get to work here. And thank you for all the support. So lots more to come in terms of follow-up and activities. And Manoli will certainly reach out to you as we think about community film screenings and what can we do in Singapore, and we'll ideate on that with you further. So we'll definitely be in touch. And anybody, please reach out to Johnny, Andrew, myself, Vasuda, whomever you'd like, and let us know that you want to be a part of upcoming conversations. So I think I'll leave it at that and just say, yeah, thank you so much. Love and blessings. Have a good remainder of the day. I know it's late. So Genla, thank you so much. Andrew, Johnny, thank you for everything you've done. Genla, thank you for starting this journey 24 years ago and enabling us to become a part of this in some small way. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. It's been brilliant.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Do consider